I'm a little bit fucking nervous.
I'm a Restan. I'm a Restan account. I can't lie.
Ugh.
Give Feyre some weed 2022.
The only thing that's full of anything is you full of shit. Like, what the fuck was all of this for nothing? Hi besties, welcome back to my second channel. Today, I am bringing you another reading vlog. In my last reading vlog for ACOTAR, I said that if I got 50 likes on my pinned comment, I would film an ACOMAF reading vlog. Safe to say you guys made that happen. So here we are. This is the second book in a series. If you have not seen the first reading vlog, I would recommend checking that one out first. This won't make a lot of sense if you haven't watched the first one. We read ACOTAR, I rated it a 3-star, and now we're gonna read the second book. A lot of you guys out there say that this is your favorite book in the series, so I'm excited to see how I feel about it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit fucking nervous, but I'm just gonna bring you along with me for the journey, for the content. We're gonna be reading this ginormous book. It's like literally 624 pages. So wish me luck. Let's do it. I am starting A Court of Mist and Fury. I have mixed emotions going into this book, and I'm just kind of scared, but I'm also a little bit more hopeful because so many of you claim that this is the holy grail of all of the ACOTAR books. Like, this is the one.
You have to read book 2. You can't not read it. Book 2 is the best.
I feel like when I go in with these like high expectations and everyone hypes up a book, it just makes the downfall that much harder when they are bad, if they are bad. I don't know what to expect. I do love a morally gray, tall, dark-haired bad boy love interest like Reese, so I just hope I like it. Gonna sit here, just gonna cozy up on the couch and get started. Okay, I just finished like the 2-page little prologue. Okay, the sun. Why is this kind of a look? Anyway, I literally forgot. I forgot that at the end of ACOTAR, they made Feyre a fairy. I actually just blocked that part out of my memory. I was sitting here like, why the hell is she talking about how her ears are pointy and her human features are like fuzzy now? But then I remembered that this bitch is now a mortal and a fairy, which is weird to me because I feel like I can't picture her as anything but a human, like a dumb little clueless human. That was a nice reminder, so. Tamlin providing us with yet another red flag, as every night when Feyre wakes up to vomit or has a nightmare or flashbacks and PTSD, he just keeps sleeping. He just ignores it because he'd rather ignore it than actually have to face it and talk about the damage that it has done to Feyre. The flags are maroon, bitch. They are dark red. You literally changed your entire life. Now you have to live forever. You have all this trauma and PTSD. All for what? This man who won't even comfort you while you have panic attacks in the middle of the night? Girl, the bar is in hell. And now you're telling me 2 pages later, Tamlin proposed and this bitch accepted? Oh my God. We're 10 pages in and I'm already annoyed at Feyre. I'm a little bit annoyed that we didn't even get to like experience or read that proposal scene. Some people out there, I'm sure, ship Tamlin and Feyre, and I bet they were mad that they were robbed of that scene because, like, don't tell me that they got proposed. Show me, bitch. Okay, I'm on page 16 and we've met Ianthe. I just looked up how to pronounce her name and the 5 videos that I looked all said it differently, so I don't know. Ianthe, we're gonna go with that. And there's a part where Feyre literally says, Ianthe, see, now I'm saying it, oh my God, I don't even know. Ianthe, with her bright gold hair, those teal eyes, elegant features, and supple body, looked more like Tamlin's mate than I did, his equal. And I feel like that's exactly what I was thinking. And I'm like, I feel like that's a surprise clue for later. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Tamlin and Ianthe end up getting together. Okay, wait, I'm a few pages later and suddenly Ianthe is interested in Lucien, which I did not see coming. Maybe I was wrong about the whole Ianthe Tamlin thing. Oopsies. But Lucien's not into it. Lucien's like, oh, I'm not care for this girl, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I should just keep reading and shut up. Not Rhysand crashing Feyre's wedding right as she was about to flee from the altar. I kind of wish he wouldn't have showed up at the wedding because I was interested in seeing what Feyre was gonna do. Like, if she was gonna just run the fuck away, if she was gonna throw up. But I love a good wedding crasher. I love a bit of drama. Okay, the fact that Rhys came and saved her because he heard her thoughts through her eye tattoo or whatever the fuck, And then he says,
I want to say thank you, and then I want you to take off that hideous dress. You look exactly like the doe-eyed damsel he and that simpering priestess want you to be.
period! Period! Say it how it is, bitch. Say it how it is. I'm a Reese stan. I'm a Reese stan account. I can't lie. You don't know anything about me, Feyre replies. Bitch, are you sure about that, girly? He can read your thoughts, babe. And he even called out the fact that Tamlin doesn't give a fuck that she has, like, PTSD and night terrors. Ugh. Yes, king. Ignore my appearance. I'm sitting in a towel because I just took a nice bath while I was reading. But I'm on page 74 and Rhys has just told Feyre about how war is coming and all the shit that Tamlin has been keeping from her and how she has these powers and she could learn to harness them or whatever. And he's basically ripping Tamlin a new asshole, talking about how he sat on his ass for 50 years and oh my God. I just love him. I just love Rhys. I love Rhys. It's like everything he says were the exact issues that I had with him in the first book. So I see you, Sarah J. Maas. I see you, girl. I still don't like Feyre though. I still don't think her character makes sense to me. He said, so true. You agree? Yeah. I know, Feyre is a pretty dumb main character, I agree. Yeah. Rhys should just dump Feyre and be with me instead. Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading, so. Here with an ACOMAF update. I'm about like 170 pages in. I have like 2 or 3 things to say. First of all, I hate the audiobook. I got the audiobook. I found out that the audiobooks are on Scribd, which is like my new favorite app. I'm not sponsored. I wish they were paying me. Scribd, hit my emails in the description. But Scribd is like Netflix for audiobooks and ebooks. It's Audible, but better, in my opinion. Unless Audible wants to sponsor. Look, let me shut up. It's like $11 to $13 a month and you get access to a shit ton of ebooks and audiobooks. Now, the A Court of Thorns and Roses series is not on the ebooks on that app, but the audiobooks are there. And I was like, hell yeah! My favorite thing in the world is having a physical book and the audiobook at the same time, because then I can sit and I can read the physical book, or I can do laundry, I can go on a drive, I can do whatever and listen to the audiobook. So a lot of my books I read with both like at the same time, interchangeably, if that makes sense. But the ACOTAR audiobooks are just painful. If you do want to check out Scribd though, you can get 2 free months of it with my link in the description. I'm not paid, but it'll give me a free month. So it's a win-win situation. Just try it out. You won't regret it. I actually have so many good books tabbed and saved to check out. And a lot of the books that were on my TBR, I found the audiobooks on Scribd. So best of both worlds, Hannah Montana style, you know what I mean? I felt this way about the ACOTAR audiobook as well, because I actually got it on Audible. Mistake. But I don't think I mentioned it in my ACOTAR reading vlog, but I'm gonna mention it here. The audiobooks are not it. And I don't mean this in a mean or negative way. I'm so sorry. It's just not my cup of tea. The person that is reading the book, I just don't particularly like the way that they read it. I don't like their voice. They're giving the like ugliest accent to Cassian.
How the hell did you make that bone ladder in the Midgard worm's lair when you look like your own bones can snap at any moment?
I can't listen to this anymore. I just can't do it. So I definitely prefer to read these books physically, which is just something I wanted to note. It's not really that important, but I thought I would bring it up. Next note, I'm actually enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. Like right now, if I had to rate it right now, I would give it a 4-star, which is like, bitch, what? I'm very, very picky with my ratings. I am. I know there's a lot of people out there that like rate most of their books 4s and 5 stars. Like I hear people on YouTube and TikTok being like, oh, I read it like 5 stars. It was okay. Like I really enjoyed the characters, but it wasn't my favorite. That will never be me. 5 stars are saved for flawless books or nearly flawless books, but they were so good that I could just overlook any flaws. 4 stars are like, I had a really great reading experience with this, but there are flaws and I can't really overlook them. And then a 3-star is like a good but forgettable book. So right now though, like right now I can't lie, I'm really enjoying reading it. So right now it's a 4-star. Like based on my experience alone, it's a 4-star. I think it's just because Rhys has me giggling like a little kid. Like it's so stupid. Like I am a whore for morally gray, tall, dark, handsome, evil, brooding, sarcastic asshole main characters. I'm a simple gal. I like simple things, and Reese is giving me what I like. Because I like Reese, I'm happy with the direction that this book is going. Basically, Feyre has just decided that with her PTSD and her trauma from being under the mountain, she just feels trapped and isolated being at the spring court with Tamlin, who's kind of controlling and wants to keep her safe, and he's doing everything he did in book 1. Like, I don't understand why there's this big shift, but suddenly Feyre's opened her eyes and realized that Tamlin isn't shitting liquid gold, and he actually isn't that great, which I'm like, thank God. I like that, I agree. So she's decided to go stay with Reese at the night court and in Valeris, the city of Starlight, which is like this beautiful city and all this shit. And obviously, I prefer Reese. I don't give a fuck about Tamlin. So I'm like, yes, Feyre, girl boss, I agree. Let's go. The love interest can really make or break it for me. And right now, he is single-handedly carrying this entire gigantic book on his back. I am a little bit apprehensive about the political storyline, like the court storyline, the war storyline in these books, because in the first book, everything with Amarantha, I just felt like it was quite poorly done overall. Like, it came out of fucking nowhere, and then it just wasn't really, it wasn't my favorite. And so now that there's gonna be another war potentially with this other big bad guy who's even worse than Amarantha, my faith in Sarah J Maas to bring like actually good written, well thought out political intrigue to this book is low. I have a little bit of an update. Feyre just got back from getting Reese's ring back from the Weaver lady, and I just kind of wanted to touch on something. I know a lot of the times I like to poke fun at and nitpick the things that I don't enjoy in books, but I think it's also important to point out things that we do really enjoy. And I want to commend Sarah J Maas for writing realistic like trauma and mental health. I feel like a lot of this book is following Feyre's journey having PTSD after everything that occurred in the last book. I feel like that's something that's kind of like just glazed over and not really talked about in fantasy. Like, all these characters just going through these really, really traumatic events and these severe things, witnessing all this death and this violence and this war and stuff like that, and then just kind of being like, okay, next. It's not really that realistic. Like, I'm obviously not enjoying that Feyre's going through these like mental struggles, but I'm enjoying how realistic it is and how Reese is slowly helping her sort of adapt and expose herself to like going to the prison, like going under a mountain again, and like facing her fears and kind of slowly working through it. But anytime she's like, this is too much for me, I don't think I'm emotionally or physically ready to do this, he just takes her out and like she's able to just go home. And you know, so I do really like that aspect of it. And I also like, for the first time, I feel like I'm sort of beginning to understand Feyre a bit more than I did in book 1. Book 1 Feyre, ugh. But book 2 Feyre, like, I feel like the way that her trauma is changing how she views the world and the people around her, like, is really, it makes a lot of sense. And how she's sort of leaning and clinging more towards Rhysand and the people in the Night Court, and sort of now finally opening her eyes to all the issues with Tamlin and the Spring Court and how she was being treated. Like, I just feel like overall her character growth and development in this book is a lot better. And yeah, just the way that she's working through her trauma and her past, I think is very cool. Like, I like to see the mental health representation. That's some real shit. That's some real relatable ass shit. Like, obviously we're not gonna be under a fucking mountain having to save the whole fairyland, but like, people go through very traumatic things, and that obviously changes how you behave and view the world and act. Yeah, I just like that realistic portrayal. So just wanted to point that out. Hi. I know I look like a hot mess with a capital H. It is my weekend, it's my day off, and I've literally been doing nothing but sitting on my ass and playing the new Sims high school pack and downloading a bunch of CC and rotting away. But I do have some things that I want to say about A Court of Mist and Fury, and Josh is actually gone, so it's like a great time for me to film. I just hit page 300. I'm on chapter 31, and that is relatively halfway through the book. There's like 620 something pages, I think. So first of all, we've had no smut. Unless you count like the half a sex scene with Tamlin that was like in like the first 5 chapters. Other than, but like, do I care about smut involving Tamlin? No. Other than that, we haven't had any smut. None. None at all. And while it makes sense for the story, like I'm not expecting Rhys and Feyre to start finger banging in chapter 10. Like that wouldn't like logically make sense for the plot of the book and how it's moving. What doesn't make sense is how many of you goddamn motherfuckers say that this book is filled to the brim with smut and spice. The only thing that's full of anything is you full of shit. That's the truth and the tea. Just because a book includes a sex scene doesn't make it a smutty book. Thank you. I think we need to redo the definition of a smutty or spicy book. I need at least one sex scene per 100 pages, I feel like, for it to really be a smutty book. Indie authors like Penelope Douglas set my standard for smutty books. If someone wanted to describe Punk 57 as a smutty book, that makes perfect sense to me. There are like, I think 4 or 5 sex scenes in it, and it's like 300 pages. So perfect. I don't need there to be smut every other page. Can we be a little bit more realistic? But the second thing is a more positive one. I am actually really starting to like, that's a light term, okay? Not love, not adore, not stan, just like. I'm starting to like Feyre. I feel like she's finally like, it's clicking how much of a fucking idiot she was and how much of a loser Tamlin is, and it's finally hitting her and it's finally clicking. So she sent him that letter basically being like, I'm not coming back, like I am staying gone, I'm staying in the night court, yada yada, whatever, to kind of like break up with him. Then she's training with Cassian and Rhysand, and she says this, and it's like 3 paragraphs, so bear with me, but I feel like I need to read the entire thing to really get my point across. I had done everything for that love. I had ripped myself to shreds, I had killed innocents and debased myself, and he had sat beside Amarantha on that throne, and he couldn't do anything, hadn't risked it, hadn't risked being caught until there was 1 night left, and all he wanted to do wasn't free me, but fuck me. And when Amarantha had broken me, when she had snapped my bones and made my blood boil in its veins, he just knelt and begged her. He hadn't tried to kill her, hadn't crawled for me. Yes, he'd fought for me, but I'd fought harder for him. And he had the nerve, once his powers were back, to shove me into a cage. The nerve to say I was no longer useful. I was to be cloistered for his peace of mind. He'd given me everything I needed to become myself, to feel safe. And when he got what he wanted, when he got his power back, his lands back, he stopped trying. He was still good, still Tamlin, but he was just wrong. Yes! Yes! When I read that last night, I literally, yes, exactly, finally, she came to her goddamn senses, and I love to see it. I'm starting to like Feyre much more in this book, much more. Sarah J Maas might not be that great at building a solid plot, at world building, at coming up with unique metaphors. She kind of reuses the same writing techniques every other page, but she is really good, I think, at characters and character development, because the transition from Feyre at the beginning to now, wow, that character development is brilliant. While I did not like ACOTAR, and reading this still doesn't change my opinions of that, I understand why we needed ACOTAR to sort of build up the story and get it to this point, because we couldn't fully be here and be able to enjoy this and what's going on with Rhys and the Night Court and Feyre becoming like the bad bitch that she should have been from page 1. We couldn't really fully appreciate that without all the bullshit from the first book. But I still don't like the first book. Okay, and I still could have gone without reading it. Carrie Can Read did a whole entire video breaking down the ACOTAR plot. It's like a 2-hour video. You just sit, you binge it, and she just literally talks about the entire ACOTAR story. I would highly recommend, if you're gonna read this, if you're somehow watching these spoiler-filled vlogs and you plan on reading this yourself, I would honestly, if I could go back, I would just go back and watch that video and then just jump into this, because it's not really worth the time and effort to read book 1, but I'm glad that we're getting to a point where I'm actually like enjoying it a lot more in comparison with, again, the only other fairy fantasy series that I've read, The Cruel Prince. I'm not as invested in the like political intrigue and the plot of this book as much as I was with that series. Like in that series, I was literally on the edge of my seat, like wanting to know what Jude was gonna do next, like how she was gonna defeat whatever challenge she was facing at the time. But with this, like with the whole Highburn and the war, like I don't really care. I'm just more interested in seeing like the character development and Rhys and Feyre fuck, finally, please, goddamn. I know it's probably in like 10 chapters or something, but I'm waiting for it. I just want more of the romance. I don't really care about all the politics. I don't feel like they're explained well enough or fleshed out well enough for me to care. So whatever. I'm glad Feyre has grown an extra brain cell finally. So that is my current thoughts. Ignore my setup here. I'm working right now, just, you know, being productive. Last night when I was laying in bed, I was reading and I am like a few chapters past the Court of Nightmares scene where Rhys and Feyre and Cassian and Azriel and everybody had to go to the Court of Nightmares so they could steal the other half of the book, I think, or whatever they were trying to steal. And Rhys and Feyre were trying to like distract the people so that they wouldn't notice Azriel stealing, if I'm remembering that correctly. I don't know. It was a blur. All I could focus on, and the reason why I'm making this clip, that scene was high as hell. Basically, Feyre had to play the part of being like Rhys's whore, and so she's like in this scantily clad little outfit, and she's like grinding up on him, and he's like rubbing her thigh, and I was just like, everyone's watching, and I know it was like all a charade and a plan, but like, I was like, can y'all just start fucking? And like, I was a little bit bummed out that like nothing happened like afterwards directly, but I feel like it's gonna happen. Like the sexual tension's building and it's rising, so I'm expecting within the next few chapters like a full-on sex scene. But that, my friends, is the spice I've been waiting for. Obviously it's more rewarding when you have to like wait for it and it kind of like slowly builds up the sexual tension. But yeah, I still agree with my point at the beginning that this book is not a super smutty fairy porn book. I think we're like almost 70% of the way done through the book before literally that scene. So yeah, I wouldn't say the book's a super smutty book. That's not really how I'd classify it, but the smut scene, that scene was hot. Like, it was hot. Getting down and dirty and not caring if anyone's watching, like, damn, that was kind of, I needed a cold shower after reading that. Besides that though, I'm kind of waiting for like Tamlin to do anything. Like, I know Feyre sent the letter kind of being like, I left on my own accord, I'm not coming back, yada yada yada, but like Tamlin being so protective and like the way he was so like controlling and protective of Feyre in the first book, I'm just kind of confused as to how nothing has happened yet. I'm sure there's a reason and there's an explanation and I'll figure it out later in the book, but I'm just shocked that Tamlin hasn't like tried to break down fucking Rhys's like door and like come back and be like, what the, like, you know, like I'm like the fact that we've heard absolutely nothing from Tamlin and we haven't seen Tamlin for like the majority of this book is like a slay, because I don't fucking like Tamlin, but I'm also like, when is he gonna show up? It just doesn't make sense with his character that he hasn't done anything yet. So there has to be like a logical explanation why Tamlin hasn't came and tried to like get Feyre back. I was kind of disappointed that we didn't go actually get like the lingerie shopping scene. Was kind of bummed by that, but it was hot the way that like Rhys like infiltrated her mind with like what would happen. So we got like a glimpse, you know what I mean? Like it was like better than nothing, because I feel like a lot of times they'll start getting really flirty and sexual and then like they'll be like, oh, why don't we do this? What if I do this? And then it's just like cut, fade, like nothing, and then it's just like the plot changes and we're moving on to the next thing. So I feel like she likes to do that a lot. Like Sarah J Maas likes to like build up the sexual tension and then just cut it off and like move on to the next chapter. I'm ready for that to stop happening. Like, give me what I want. Give me what I want, Sarah J Maas. Give me what I want. Do I think it's like the best fantasy series I've ever read? No. In terms of just fantasy, world building, political intrigue, it's the worst. It's not well thought out. It's not that brilliantly done, but the romance is really good. So yeah.
Okay, I'm just reading on the couch. I finally got the book on my Kindle as well. Currently 74% of the way through. I'm not sure what chapter, but right now Rhys and Feyre are staying at the little inn and they're trying to like conceal themselves. Rhys doesn't want them to know that he's high fae, so he's like looking like a normal warrior, and they end up having to stay in the last room that was available, which obviously only has one bed or whatever. And Rhys was like, basically, I want to fuck, but this room is too small, like with my wings and everything. But then Feyre is saying that like she feels like a traitorous lying piece of trash because she couldn't stop thinking about Rhys and she wanted to visit him even when she was, you know, staying with Tamlin and all this stuff. And even though he even says like, that doesn't make you a traitor, it doesn't make you a liar, she still believes that she is. And I think it's pretty annoying, especially given this line that says, Tamlin had given up on me, but I'd also given up on him. And I was a lying piece of trash for it. Who said, if Tamlin gave up on you, there's nothing wrong with you then deciding, okay, this isn't working for me and I like somebody else. It's not like her and Rhys did anything romantic or sexual while she was still engaged to like, she literally broke up with Tamlin via the letter. So like at this point, like I don't get why she's like beating herself up so much for being attracted to Rhys and like wanting Rhys when like she knows damn well, and I think everyone knows, that she's done with Tamlin. Like she broke up with him, she doesn't want him anymore. She talks about how they're not right for each other. So it's like, Tamlin gave up on you, you gave up on him, and that's okay. That's how relationships work, babe. Like, I don't know. She's like, it's only been 2 months. In immortal terms, that's like a day. But like, you became an immortal literally like a few months. Like, so fuck Rhys and enjoy it, queen. Live your best life. Like, whatever. Okay, we just found out that Rhys and Feyre... Not my AC turning on right as I'm... Anyway, ignore that. It's hot. We just found out that Rhys and Feyre are mates, which I pretty much assumed. Once that bond started and they were like talking to each other through the bond, I felt like that kind of clued me in that they were mates. So I'm not sure if that's actually true. The bond could just be collateral for the promise and like her tattoos and stuff for promising Rhys that she would go with him under the mountain. You know what I mean? Maybe the fact that Feyre now realizes that they're mates, she'll get over her stupid little traitor lie BS and just be like, well, he's my mate, so the universe destined it. I actually think that she's gonna be pissed off that he didn't tell her. So, okay, so now we've discovered that at the very, very, very end of ACOTAR, the very last scene is when Feyre is brought back to life and all that stuff, and then Rhys looks at her and is like visibly shocked and then just disappears. And that is the moment when he realized that Feyre is his mate. But that's not why the bond was made. So apparently you can just have bonds with whoever. They don't have to be your mate. But the bond got stronger because they are mates, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Here's the thing. She's so mad at Rhys and everyone, how they all knew that they were mates, but that no one told her. 3 things that I understand about Feyre's character. 1, she wants to protect and save her family, even if they're awful to her and they don't give a fuck about her. She wants to do that for whatever reason. It doesn't make sense, but that's what she wants. She wants Rhys's cock, and she wants to be like in on the loop. Like she doesn't want to be left out of anything. So she's like really, really mad at Rhys right now because he left her out of the loop. But it's also like, if you two were mates, like shouldn't you have realized you're like, all of his reasons for why he didn't tell her are very valid. It's not the same as Tamlin just being like, I don't want to tell you anything because I don't trust you and I think you're stupid. Meh. I'm going to keep you locked up in my house and not let you come with me because I just don't want to be. Meh. Tamlin was just an asshole, but Rhys didn't tell her because she was literally going to marry someone else. She had so much going on. She told him she just wanted fun, and he was like, okay, like, I'm just going to make things worse for her if I tell her. And I get that she just wants to know everything, but like, girl, that's not like, realistically, honesty is always the best policy, but you're being a little bit fucking dramatic right now. Like, I think his reasonings make sense, babe. Like, no one's gonna be a perfect person that's gonna tell you everything that they're feeling 100% of the time. Like, honestly, thank God her and Rhys have this bond and their thoughts just get sent to each other. Tamlin might be like overprotective, but Feyre is also very overprotective, just in a different way. Like, Tamlin just wants to like keep her locked up in a cage and safe, but Feyre just wants to know every little fucking thought and bit of information that goes on in your head. Like, Feyre's the type of girl that would get mad at you if she asked you what you had for breakfast and you didn't tell her. Like, chill out a bit. Chill out a bit, Feyre. Like, smoke. Do they have weed in the fairy realm? She needs some weed. Give Feyre some weed 2022.
Can we please talk about how Feyre just goes to this cabin that the inner circle has gone to for centuries, and it's her first time there, and she just decides, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna paint all over it. I'm gonna paint little paintings and pictures all over the furniture in this cabin. Like, okay, girl, it was cute when it was your house, but like, you're not even gonna ask? Like, what if they don't like the paintings? Like, what? You just go stay at someone else's place? It's like if I went to an Airbnb and I'm like, let me redecorate. Why does she act like this? Who lets Feyre get away with all this? Girl, they didn't... just paint on a canvas like the rest of us. My God.
I'm almost done with the book. I'm on page 595, so we got like 30 pages to go.
I'm also in the bath.
I do not understand Tamlin's character. Now, I thought I did. I thought in ACOTAR it made sense, but nope, that's gone out the window. I don't understand why the fuck Tamlin would agree and allow the King of Hybern to like start a war just to bring Feyre back. What happened to wanting to protect your people? What happened to wanting to protect your courts? What happened to caring about all of those? Like, that's just out the window because you got a taste of human pussy? I don't understand why everyone is so infatuated and obsessed with Feyre. Like, she has all these powers that she was given, but prior to that, she was kind of just annoying, whiny. She wants to like know all the information, know all the secrets, but then she goes and fucks up the whole cauldron. You had one job, babe, one singular job, and you fucked it up. Like, I just don't understand what everyone's obsession is with Feyre, that they would just like throw all their morals out the window to get like a sniff of her armpit. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. She's not that cool. I know Rhys liked her because she's like sarcastic and she'll like make, but like, babe, you've been alive for literally centuries. Have you never met any other woman that would be sarcastic? Mor and Amryn are just as sarcastic as Feyre. Like, I just don't understand what qualities about her make everyone fucking obsessed and do the stupidest shit. Because what the fuck do you mean, Tamlin? Like, I'm getting mad. I'm getting mad. Not them trying to turn Elaine and Nesta into like immortals or whatever and like killing them basically to do that. And the only person that's trying to stop it is Tamlin. Like, Rhys just sits there quiet. He said, okay, but also low-key, like, Elaine just goes into the cauldron, takes a little bubble bath for a few seconds, and now she's an immortal fairy. So that kind of sounds like a good trade-off to me. Like, why is everyone freaking the fuck out? That sounds like a slay. Like, that's exactly what happened to Feyre, and she's probably way better off because of it. Before this, she was just a human that was gonna die and be poor, and now she's a rich night court big dick fucking mate who's powerful. So, like, why is this that big of a deal? I don't get it. And now Lucien is Elaine's mate. Okay, I mean, I guess that works out because Lucien, boring. What does he add to the story besides being Tamlin's little puppet? Right, Elaine, boring. What does she add to the story besides being pretty and being Nesta's little puppet? I ship it. Whatever. I don't know what the fuck's going on in this story anymore. Jesus Christ. Can we just get back to like the smut? What is this plot? Oh no. The last 2 chapters, we've switched and now we have Rhys's perspective. And if there's one thing that I just don't really like in books, this is an unpopular opinion, I know that, but it's true. I don't really like dual POV. I don't like to hear like the guy and the girl's perspectives most of the time. It was going so good. It was going so good. And now she's just back at Tamlin's house. Like, what the fuck was all of this for nothing? All of this was for nothing. Okay. That is it. That is my ACOMAF reading vlog. It's kind of hard for me to even like put into words how I felt about this book. Did I enjoy it more than ACOTAR? Yes. Do I like the characters in this book more now that they've had growth? Yes. Do I think Sarah J Maas is good at character growth? Yes. Do I think this had still a lot of the same issues that I had with ACOTAR in terms of writing, repetitiveness, lack of a concise plot? Also yes. Honestly, it's not like leaps and bounds better than ACOTAR is. I think there are still a lot of flaws within the series and the plot and like the details get kind of a little bit confusing for me. I feel like the magic system and the way that the fairies' powers work and even like Feyre's own powers, they literally just change and like show up at random moments and you're like, oh, okay, I guess now Feyre can teleport. Like, I don't know, like it just gets kind of confusing when the world building and the magic rules aren't like laid out for you. There obviously were things that I appreciated in this book. I appreciated Feyre's sort of journey and Sarah J Maas like really focusing on mental health. And I really loved Rhys. I did. I think Rhys carried this book on his winged back, like he literally did. I think if Rhys was out of this book, I wouldn't have even bothered to read it. You could say a sentence and I'd be like, oh, Rhys said that. Like, he's just so specific. Like, he just makes sense. Everything he says, like, makes sense. And so I really liked that about him. He's a really fleshed out character, I feel like. Cassie and Azriel more. Like, I liked their social interactions. I liked when they were together. I liked the dynamics of the characters. But the actual plot, the actual, like, political intrigue, the stuff going on with the courts, the war, a miss. Like, don't really care. Now that I've finished 2 books, I can confidently say that I do not like Sarah J. Maas's pacing. Like, for how big this book is, I feel like Sarah J. Maas draws out scenes that I feel like could be way shorter, but then the really like intense plot twisty stuff happens in like small chunks. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the pacing is a little bit backwards. Like, especially the whole end bit with Tamlin and Lucian and Hybern and that whole showdown and Nesta and Elaine becoming fairies and all that stuff. Like, that was literally like 3 chapters, but then we had like 40 chapters of Feyre like training. Like, you know, like, it just, the pacing of it's weird. Also, my biggest issue, I had these same exact gripes with ACOTAR. How I hear everyone on Book Talk and everyone saying that this is such a smutty series. It's like fairy porn. Oh my God, it's erotica. And everyone was like, no, Haley, no. The first book isn't smutty. The second book is filled to the brim. Y'all are fucking liars. You are a liar and actress, get the fuck out. There was 2 actual sex scenes in this book. There was maybe like 3 or 4 other ones, but they were fade to black. He made love to me under the moonlight. Next chapter. Like, they didn't even, like, there's nothing. And those scenes didn't happen until like maybe this far into the, so like there's all of this with no smut at all, and then if you're going into ACOTAR thinking it's gonna be a really smutty, steamy, erotic, like, stories, like, no, it's definitely not, babe. This is like 600 pages of plot and 20 pages of smut. I don't know why so many people act like this is super smutty, super erotica. Like, have y'all read 1 book on Kindle Unlimited? I'm guessing no. The sexual tension through the first 600 pages is good. Like, it kept me interested, it kept me going. Like, I don't think this needed to have smut every other chapter to keep me intrigued. Like, I think the sexual tension was good enough, but like, let's stop lying to ourselves and saying that this is a super smutty book filled to the brim with smut when it absolutely is not. It's not. It's not Sarah J. Maas's fault though. It's everyone else's fault for marketing this book as something that it isn't. Like, let's stop doing that. I still am not the biggest fan of Feyre's character. Like, she's all right. She's definitely more tolerable in this book. I really did not like her in the first book, but in this book, I'm like, okay, girl, like, I see where you're like, okay. It was annoying because I feel like this book just did what ACOTAR did in a different font. Like, literally, girl gets captured to live with a fairy guy for one reason or another. Girl ends up slowly deciding that she likes to stay with this fairy guy. Girl falls in love with the fairy guy. Something happens in the fairy realm. Bad things happen. Girl has to save the guy that she loves by making herself miserable. That's like the exact same plot structure that happened in book 1 and book 2. And now we're back to square one. Starting the next book, you're back at square one with Feyre in the spring court being held captive by Tamlin. What the fuck? What the fuck? Again, rating the series has been very like difficult to me because like, I just don't know, like there's so many conflicting factors. There are so many things that I really loved in this book and there are things that I really hated. So it's not like, you know, I feel like with ratings, I'm like, I either love the book, I either hate the book, or it's like meh in the middle. But like, this was like up and fucking down. Looking back with hindsight and more knowledge, I'm dropping my ACOTAR rating to a 2.5. No, a 2. I'm dropping my ACOTAR rating to a 2. It was a 3, it's a 2. The last like few chapters with Amarantha and everything don't really make up for how boring the rest of the book was, because if ACOTAR was a 3, this is definitely better than ACOTAR, but it doesn't feel like a 4 to me. Like when I think about the other books I've rated 4 stars, this does not like reach that level. So I'm gonna give this a 3.5. So far this series just feels like Sarah J. Maas is like making it up as she goes. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not her. I didn't read about her writing process, but to me, when I read it, it feels like the first book, she had this idea, Beauty and the Beast retelling, da-da-da-da, whatever, did it, and then realized, oh, they want more books, and oh, we need a sequel, and oh, so then she's just like making up the plot as she goes along, where I feel like I prefer it when there's like little tiebacks and like it just perfectly, the puzzle pieces fall into place and it just feels satisfying. This book doesn't really, these books don't really feel satisfying where the plot is concerned, where the political twists and the turns are concerned. I feel like the twists and turns are just there for shock value. They logically don't make sense half of the time. You think they defeat the worst villain ever, Amarantha, and then all of a sudden, oh, just kidding, there's a new villain that we never talked about in book one. Definitely a big improvement from the first book because there's actually a romance that we care about and we want to thrive and grow. I like that Feyre's definitely like stepping into herself. She's getting more confident. She's, you know, finding herself and is having power. But again, I think it's like what Cindy said in her review of this book.
I love it when a woman is independent now that a man allows her to be.
And that's so true. Like, I think it's so funny. Feyre's like, I want control, whatever, but only takes control because Rhys lets her. Like, if I was Feyre, I would have just fucking killed Tamlin and left. Like, I don't know. This book does things well. This book also did things poorly. That is my A Court of Mist and Fury reading vlog. I wish I could better articulate my thoughts and feelings about this book, but I feel like with every Sarah J Maas book I've read thus far, only these two, I need like a few weeks to really process my thoughts. Will I be continuing the series and reading A Court of Wings and Ruin? I do see the Akawar, like war, now we're at war. That was kind of clever, Sarah J Maas, I can give you that one. Will I read Akawar? For the content. Again, I will leave a pinned comment. If it gets 100 likes, I'll do A Court of Wings and Ruin reading vlog. I'll just keep putting myself through this. That's it. That's basically all I gotta say for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know how you feel about the series in the comments below. Go and like the top pinned comment if you want to see A Court of Wings and Ruin A Court of Wings and Ruin reading vlog, but it probably won't come as quickly as these two did. I think I need a little bit of a break. I love you guys so much. I will talk to you all in my next video. Sending lots of love.